Hey everyone, this is the Mega Construx Destiny 2 Cabal Harvester Dropship set. With 2,311 pieces, it's the big set, the first really big set from Mega Construx in their Destiny line, and biggest set that they've released for 2017 as of the time of the recording of this video. It took me a while to put this thing together. I very strongly recommend pre-sorting the parts. It took me about actually it was a little bit over an hour. I was going to say about an hour. It was over an hour just to sort out the pieces, and you can thank one of the other companies out there for putting out a little patent that keeps anybody else from actually creating numbered bags or lettered bags or anything. It is not Mega Construx's fault, but all the pieces were there, all the pieces were in good shape, and everything went together pretty well. I think there was one mistake in the instructions, or at least maybe I didn't quite understand. It was a little bit confusing to me, but everything came together in the end, and this is a very imposing looking thing. Definitely not as smooth as the real thing is in game, you know, around all the edges and such, but it's built up pretty nicely. Just a tremendous amount of presence when you look at this thing relative to the size of a figure. It's not properly scaled. I'd say it's probably, I don't know, half scale, maybe a third or something like that, but there's a ton of room on the inside. Even though this has a fairly solid build, fairly strong build, you can lift it up from many of the parts, and it's actually holding itself up on its own landing gear right now. That's a cool thing that you're actually able to do that for how large and heavy it is, but there's actually quite a bit of space inside. They made this thing very hollow, and it has some articulation. So let me get these figures actually out of the way first. Let's really focus on the craft itself. The thruster pods on the sides can be rotated together, and then each individual segment there can be moved. So you can get a lot of different looks when it's really accelerating off, when it's coming down for a landing. Let's see if I've got a little bit more room. That's about the range of motion that you get for this rear thruster. This one can go a lot farther. You can actually do like that. I think it looks a little bit better like that than to have it the opposite way. But I think this was based off concept art. It's definitely not the final version, or at least it's not the version that we saw in the beta of Destiny 2. Not exactly. The markings are a little bit different, and also this one has blue to represent the flame coming out the thrusters, whereas in game we got it in orange or reddish, flame color. Everything that looks like a decoration on this is a print, of course, because it's Mega Construx. So like this is a print. This is a print. Down here, you've got another insignia over here for the Red Legion. It's also printed up nicely. Those scratches are intentional. It's actually designed in there. And then on the top, there are a couple more printed pieces, but also a lot of this is done with just genuine building techniques using regular wedge plates as well as wedge tiles. So all this is actually built along multiple dimensions. I mean, this is actually using slopes here, and then you switch over to wedge plates, and then you got the tiles. And these are separate parts, separate assemblies that are done at different times, and they're at different angles, and it all comes together for a pretty nice look. I like it. I could have used a little bit more tiling back here, though. I'm not in the class of brick-built fan of brick-built stuff who requires that everything be completely tiled over to like it. I actually appreciate studded surfaces on these things, but I like this right here and back to this section, kind of getting a mix between tiled surfaces and the studded surfaces. I think that they could have used just a little bit more tiling on the tail boom. Oh yeah, speaking of the tail boom, you also get this thruster back here, which can be angled. We actually go up a little bit, go straight back and straight down, a little bit forward even for a little bit of braking, and also for your, for your landings and takeoffs. Nice little detail that I like is kind of on the back of these wings, if you will. They've just got these rows of gunmetal gray, 1 by 2 by, is it 1? Yeah, I think those are 1 by 2 by 1 slopes and they're just kind of layered in there. You can see how they've switched directions multiple times. Mega just builds in all kinds of directions. Their parts inventory, as I always laud, just gives you so much range and so much ability to do different things easily without having to build up really thick kind of sub-assemblies just to hold up parts. They let you switch between building on the side, building straight up and down, building upside down very quickly. Allows you to get some interesting designs in there. So as for opening things up and getting access to the interior, this is one hatch back here, and you've also got these two hatches up on the top. Allow you to open up the roof. And the reason I'm staying back here is that opening up the roof lets a lot of light into the interior, so you can get this really cool view going right through the rear hatch to the interior that shows you the stairs going up to the command deck. And this also is a good place to look at figures if you pose figures inside of there. I mean, that's just a perfect little look. There's plenty of room. You can have multiple, even kind of side by side. It's a little bit awkward angle for me trying to handle the camera in this, but yeah, I mean, it just works so simply. It really gives you a lot of options for things that you can do. Plus, as it is a dropship, of course, you need to have the hatches that open on the sides to let individuals out. So those can all be opened up on both sides as well. Inside on the starboard side is a banner hanging down, and also a large printed panel piece that would be a computer display, which appears to be showing the occupancy, I would say, of each of the drop bays on the sides. On the port side, there's another banner, but instead of a screen, this looks to be what could be considered a bomb bay, or just a spare fuel or energy canister storage spot. Those definitely look like things that you could shoot at and have them blow up, but you can definitely use it just as a bomb bay, maybe improvised perhaps. Just pull up this kind of roll cage element here and let those drop on out instead of troops. Here's a view from on high to let you see just how much floor space you get there down on the main level, and kind of the difference of how everything looks, how it's all shaped up when you have the deployment bay doors closed compared to when they're open. Now there's one more thing you can actually do with those doors though. On the top section there's this clip piece that can rotate down from each, and that fits conveniently right into the top of the jump pack piece, so you can just clip one of these guys directly onto that and have them kind of hanging off and ready to drop, or you can kind of show them in the process of being dropped, or you can just kind of use that to help hold them in place when they're just hanging out at the edge, so you don't have to worry about getting them posed. You don't have to worry about their weight. You don't have to worry about them sticking. So that basically does it for the troop bay, which closes up very easily, but you also have the bridge section, which has a generous roof to give you access there as well. Naturally, that's designed to have a scion at the helm, but to me, from most angles, this section here doesn't look all that great because of the undersides of plates that you're seeing, and it's really limited by the size and scale and the need to get the outside right. But they do give you some prints for the consoles, but it's a little bit hard to see and appreciate those parts. You can kind of lean this whole thing back as an assembly and let you see those a little bit. Still got to come around the other side, and that lets you see the third print. Finally, back here on the tail boom, there's one more access point that was actually featured in the product animation, the stop motion that they did for this set. This can be used for storage back here. It's just a bunch of hollow space, but there's also that vent, which is up at the top of the troop bay, and you could kick that through and use that as an access point to get in and take everybody out and take control of the ship. One more thing I need to show you on this ship is how the landing gear work and how they fold away. I think they look a little bit unsightly like this, but I don't know how they could have done it in such a compact space to be able to bear the load of this whole craft in just a better looking way, but all this folds away and it looks so much better to me like that when it's just kind of out of the way. And of course you can just let the whole thing sit on the ground. That way you don't need to have the gear deployed, but they just tried to give you something to have a little extra thing to do, different way to pose it up, which might be a little bit more realistic, a little bit more believable, but personally I just prefer to keep them in, and you can do the exact same thing at the rear. Of course, these will just fold up or fold in. These might even look better still, just fold it away like that. You also have just a little bit of articulation kind of at the foot if you want to fold that in that way. I think leaving it pretty level is probably the best look compared to that. In the figures department, the set comes with an exclusive Cade 6, as well as a pair of Red Legion Legionaries and a pair of Scions, and they are snipers. Here's a closer look at one of the Legionaries, which I think uses a great set of molds. I think all of the molds look good, including the head, although they do take a little bit of the life away from the face, with just the white going right over the eyes. Of course, most of that should be whited out, but just a little bit more detail in there with the colors would have helped. But in real life, just looking at this thing, when normal light, normal shadow hits it, it looks pretty good to me from most angles. Good paint applications throughout the armor pieces, and also the jump pack piece has its kind of metallic orange color that's applied to it. This texture here just looks so leathery, just has the perfect amount of texture on it, that fine little texture. It's rubber, but it just looks good to me. Even got that very nice, very crisp paint application on the side of each of the legs. He's got his slug rifle there, and just in general, I'm happy with this one. The base color for the armor is the slightly bluish color. It's not just a gray. Here's one of the two identical Scions. Looks like he has the flare style headdress, but in-game, at least in the beta, they call him out as just a Scion sniper. So he's got his sniper rifle here, and the paint application on that I think is fine. I think the mold is pretty decent. I'm not sure about this side part here. I haven't looked at the weapon up close. Spent too much time just doing everything else and killing these guys really quickly, because they went down quickly at the difficulty in the beta. But overall, it's a pretty good looking thing. This one does not have the clip on the back to use the little, or doesn't have the bar on the back to use the clip from the deployment bays, but he does have his jump pack there. Not the best level of detail, I think, around the back of this one, especially around the back of the head. I don't know why that kind of disappoints me just a little bit, but just the flat areas, maybe it's actually fairly appropriate given the amount of material that you have to keep it from being too fragile, But it's nice that at least they did get that little bit of paint application just for the sensor, the eye hole, I guess is what that's supposed to represent, or the camera hole there. And notice you also get the paint applications on the front of the sight for the rifle itself. So all in all, pretty well done, and this just has the standard articulation for one of the Mega Mini or Micro action figures.
This is my serious face. Can't you tell?
Oh, Cade, how everyone loves you. Must be rough, huh? Well, fortunately, Mega did a good job with this figure. They needed to do this one right. It has a lot of paint applications, a lot of prints as well, including on the arm beneath the shoulder armor there. And he has his Ace of Spades hand cannon. A little paint application on the strap. The gold is pretty good. Paint application on the side of the leg there, the side of his hood. It's got the nice cloak that's a little bit see-through and has some paint on it. Maybe that could have been just a little bit more opaque, but I appreciate just how tattered the ends are and how you can really see the texture, the cloth texture. The one thing that bugs me here is that once again, with a unique figure, a unique character, named character, they're giving us just a plain ghost shell. He deserves so much better than that. So much better. Just a plain ghost shell. This one is a little bit difficult to pose up with the, I don't know the name of this thing here, this tan thing. I'm sure plenty of folks will post up in the comments about that, so just check for other people's comments that are already there. But it's a rubber piece, and with all the stuff that he has on, with the chest armor and the fact that the head has the hood already and this strap here and the cloak cloth coming across the back, it's a little bit difficult to get that posed in there a little bit. You can kind of wedge it in. There might be some technique to make that work a little bit better, but that's the only thing that's a little bit rough on this one. But still, I think one of the better reproduced characters that they've made so far, and that's saying a lot, because I really like the Destiny line from Mega. It's got the knife in the belt on the side there. It doesn't have any connection point to, just connect to the rectangular style of peg or anything on there, but I guess you could leave this strap off and then you could connect it to the front of the chest armor plate there if you wanted. But actually just a few days ago I was just randomly looking at my collection of Destiny figures from Mega and just enjoying how well that they've done those, and this one's definitely going to fit right in and probably be one of the highlights of the line.
Zavala's doing the hero thing in the plaza. Me? I've got a date with whoever's behind this. It'll be a short date.
So I think the figures here are really good. The ship makes great use of space, and it was a nice, long, advanced build. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you, they have the little canister that looks like a weak shootable spot under each of these side thruster pods. The ship is pretty large and definitely makes a strong statement on display, but I do think the landing gear take away from the believability of it, and it definitely, to me, looks best with those left off entirely. Overall, I think it's a very good effort, but I think the source material doesn't quite have the draw of some of the large sets that Mega has made in the past. But that's it for my look at this set. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that I showed you everything that you wanted to see. I've got a lot more videos to work on before the release of Destiny 2, so I'm going to get to it, and I'll talk to you again soon.